Okay, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is one of our first sessions specifically for the history classroom. And tonight we're going to be talking about our sea stories from this past year. We are the Makulu crew, and we have traveled by sailboat, by powerboats, research vessels, from New York City all the way to Hawaii. We've covered more than 10,000 nautical miles this year. In each of the countries that we visited, we have made certain observations, and we've partnered with different organizations that help us to research and compare the things that are similar and different between the marine environments in coastal communities around the world. So one of the organizations we've worked with is called OMG. Now, OMG doesn't stand for what you think it might. One More Generation is what OMG stands for. We're also working with an organization called the Plastic Ocean Project. Together, we have been working together to form a plastic activist toolkit. Now, all of this might not mean anything to you if you don't know anything about plastic, and I certainly didn't. So the way that I want to start off today's conversation is to tell you a little bit about what we saw on our last voyage. Justin Farrow is on. He's our lighthouse keeper, and he's going to share with you how our social network actually will help you to participate in the journeys that we have to come. So when we were on our last voyage on Sea Dragon, a 72-foot steel hold vessel, we traveled from the British Virgin Islands in the Caribbean Sea north to the Turks and Caicos, with making a stop in the Dominican Republic in the town of Samana. There we saw whales. We also saw plastic pollution or marine debris. This is debris, whether it's a plastic water bottle or a little piece of a plastic bag or even part of a flip-flop that is washed down through the water system onto coastal community beaches, or maybe is still floating out in the ocean. So we saw plastic bags and we saw the beaches covered in trash. Now this is pretty bad, but when you start to think about the other places we visited and we start comparing the data of plastic pollution in other countries, other sea voyages from Indonesia to the coast of Florida, you'll find that all of our beaches are covered in trash. So this is a serious problem. The good news is that we absolutely have the tools to solve the problem. So as OMG pointed out, plastics 3, 6, and 7 are not recyclable. So those are plastics you can avoid. Plastic has an average lifespan of 1,000 years, and it doesn't biodegrade, it photodegrades, meaning it breaks into smaller and smaller pieces. When it ends up in the ocean, those small pieces end up looking like food. So plastics are not good for us or the animals or the environments that those animals live in. Now, our social network has a bunch of different channels, and one of the channels that we have is called Marine Debris. Another channel that we have is called Water Quality. When we go on our ocean voyages, we will skim the surface of the ocean for plastics using what's called a manta trawl. The manta trawl looks like a manta ray because it's wide and it floats on the surface, and it also carries behind it a very fine comb or very fine mesh net. And when we skim the surface in the Atlantic Ocean, what we find are sargassum seaweed. And that seaweed floating on the surface is an amazing ecosystem for all sorts of animals, like the American glass eel, which is an endangered species, the sargassum fish, the sargassum crab, all sorts of animals, not to mention the birds that then feed off the sargassum. So when we collect this, we look for tiny pieces of plastic that can be caught up in the sargassum. And sadly, the researcher working with us, Bonnie Monteleone of the Plastic Ocean Project, she said that although it was less than she had expected, she still was finding microplastics. She's gone to the 5 gyres, working with the 5 gyre project around the world. Our oceans are defined by the currents that flow within them, and that's what separates them. Not any wall, there's no imaginary lines drawn. So when our trash circulates in these gyres in each of one of our different oceans. It collects. And we actually know for a fact we have giant patches of garbage floating in our oceans. And the evidence is out there that we can actually change. People change all the time. So Justin, I wanted to share with everyone the tools that you built in the social network. The Marine Debris Channel, for example, has all sorts of features. And one of the things that I'm excited about is introducing students to the type of solutions that people around the world are coming up with. There's even kids who are working on mechanical boats that would be able to skim the ocean and collect that plastic. And there's people turning plastics into fuel and investigating how it can be used, because it is a petrol product and it actually has a lot of value. It kind of reminds me of why I gave the name of this talk, If Plastic Were Diamonds. Plastic is like a diamond. It lasts a long, long time, thousands of years. So it's not something that we should be throwing away. And it's a limited resource, like our gasoline, our petrols, our fuels. We can reuse it, but we just have to be smart about it. So Justin, how would we go about talking to other people about marine debris or plastic pollution using Beautiful Nation social network?
Well, fortunately, there are a lot of projects going on right now around the world where people are identifying plastics and learning the effects on marine environments and people all around the world. We're constantly digesting fish who have digested plastics. We throw away about 14 billion pounds of trash every year, and of all the ocean, we have 70% of our Earth is ocean, but only 2% of that is actually protected. And so what we want to do in the Beautiful Nation Project is provide this place for all of these stories to occur and for us to give each other feedback and to share what we've learned along the way. For example, I'll show you the Marine Debris Channel that Tonya was just talking about. This is actually a collection of stories about how marine debris affects the world. And as a classroom or as an educator in charge of a classroom, kids can come up with some pretty brilliant ideas that adults may not find so self-evident. We lose our ability to imagine new solutions, but kids seem to be able to come up with them. So we're hoping that the topics that roll through the Beautiful Nation Project and are constantly updated, we hope that these can provide insight for kids in the classroom and foster a new sense of hope and work that works with kids' natural curiosity about the world. And hopefully we will be able to initiate and participate in many projects that classrooms are participating in, such as water monitoring, water quality monitoring, and beach cleanups and marine debris identification of plastics. In our journey channels, you'll see that we have basically all forms of environmental issues that we explore around the world are channeled through these channels. And so these channels are theme based, particularly the marine debris and the ocean literacy channels, and the water quality channels. These are places where you can take action and actually start putting together your own ideas and screening them through other educators, toss around ideas that might be a collaboration type situation where even classrooms that aren't in the same city can participate. And with the Beautiful Nation Project, we like to play with maps and build maps that give better visual representations of what it is we're exploring. We like to hold classroom discussions to teach kids, basically what is a gyre, how much plastic really is floating around in the ocean, and what can we do about it? What are some of the ways that people around the world are tackling this situation? And and how can we get involved?
Absolutely, Justin. That is awesome. And I'm really excited about these tools. So, from Bermuda to Hawaii, this is the sea stories that you'll be finding on the beautifulnationproject.org website. And you'll see some videos coming out about how we work to test our water quality. Now, I wanted to share with you some more sea stories before we wrap up today. One of my favorite sea stories comes from trips that we were doing in the Indonesian islands. And I visited an island that probably had no more than 200 families on it. You could walk around the island in a matter of hours. No cars on the island, and they were the Bugis, the original wooden shipbuilders that started rumors of the boogeymen, and still doing that traditional boat building today. As I walked around the island, one side of the island was absolutely pristine, and the other side of the island was not. It was covered in trash. The reason that was covered in trash, it was the windward side of the island, the side of the island that was exposed to the trade winds that run east to west around our planet, and especially around the equator. We have the same problem in the windward side of the Caribbean islands. We have different debris and different shorelines based on our ocean currents. So our problem is a global problem. It's not just about what you do in your neighborhood. It's about a whole attitude worldwide about the amount of resources we have and the way that we share and protect them. So I'm really excited to have you visit our website and get more information about the marine debris research that we participate in, and then I really want to hear your solutions. If you visit onemoregeneration.org, you'll meet Olivia, and who also writes for us in the Ocean Literacy channel, and she'll teach you about all sorts of ways to recycle everyday common items. So thanks for your time today. Justin, did you have anything else to add? I put a quote in the sidebar here. I'm not sure if that comes up during the live broadcast on YouTube, but I was reading from the UNESCO website, the United Nations Education Organization, Culture and Society, and they believe that healthy oceans and productive oceans are the foundation for poverty eradication. Our planet, like Justin said, 70% water. It is absolutely vital to our survival. And we have the power to really make a difference right now with all the information that's out there. Our kids are going to do great things. So stick around, stay tuned for more.
Bye-bye.
Fair winds.